Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to a review that's half old and half new. It'll become obvious, I hope, in just a minute or so. I initially looked at the Borealis+WatchMark about 12 months ago. Borealis sent me a prototype February-March last year and I really quite liked it. I've looked at 3 Borealis now on the channel and I've really quite liked them all. Good value for money, they've all been $400 or less, well spec'd and very well manufactured. All 3 have had great machining, very nice, very consistent pieces. Indeed, Borealis made it to my top 5 micro brands of 2018 selection, a video that I made towards the end of last year. Now they've got their own way of taking orders. When they get a production run ready to go, they'll take deposits, you pay half now and half on completion just before they deliver you your watch. And they always sell out. It's actually quite hard to buy a Borealis if you haven't jumped on their early bird pre-ordering special. This one, however, is a Potuscali special edition that they've done in conjunction with a Hong Kong-based retailer, WatchMark, and it is a little bit special. All black PVD coating and a bronze bezel. Just my cup of tea. Perhaps you noticed my review of my Aura 65 bronze bezel just before Christmas. Now this is one Borealis that you can actually buy. They're $399 US. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. But the eternal question remains, is it any good? Let's flip the camera and find out. I tell you what isn't very good, the packaging. I do like these little travel pouches. I've had them from Phoebus, from Stratton, from Pantor, all very good. And I've had 3 before from Borealis. I can't remember them being this bad though. This one, the glue is barely stuck together. It looks ratty. I mean, if it's for yourself, you're just going to chuck it in a drawer anyway, probably. But if it's for a gift, this would be disappointing. This one shouldn't have got past QC. But anyway, it's not about the packaging, it's about the contents. Pull that open and inside here we have a 12-month warranty. Again, it would have been nicer to see 24 months, that's more normal with an auto. Enough spare links that this comfortably would fit 8 to 8.25, maybe even 8.5 inches, and one WatchMark Special Edition Potuscali. I obviously re-watched my review of the prototype Potuscali from February 2018 to refresh my memory as to what I felt and thought about this watch back then. I went on a bit of a journey with the Potuscali over the couple of weeks that I had it on wrist, but I did end up quite enjoying it. I thought it was very well machined, but I had a couple of niggles, one of which has been rectified, one of which has not, and I'll talk about it later on. Not a particularly negative point, just something to bear in mind if you are thinking of buying one of these for yourself. So 41.5 millimeters in diameter, but 11.69 thick. This uses a Miyota 9015 movement, I'll talk about that later, but one of the advantages of the 9015 is that you can make your watch nice and slim. I have not seen all that many divers at this price, $400 or less, that are less than 12mm thick, so if you like your divers slim, this is definitely an option for you. 48mm lug tip to lug tip, but I will talk about that later on also. 22mm lug width, and sized up for my 7-inch wrist. On the supplied stainless steel bracelet, this one weighs in at 165 grams, so it's got a fair chunk of heft to it. 316L stainless steel case crown bracelet and clasp. However, it is DLC coated. This black finish is well applied DLC, looks very smooth and consistent throughout, but the bezel is really where the interest is today. CU SN8 marine grade bronze, and as you can hopefully see, this one hasn't been out the packet for too long, but it's beginning to degrade and tarnish beautifully, I think. This kind of bluey purple hues, a little bit of spotting occurring as well. I think the kind of bluey purple tones go very, very well indeed with the flat sapphire crystal purple AR coating on that. I think this watch will shape up a treat. So long as that black DLC coating doesn't scratch off, this one is going to look awesome with time. And the bezel itself is incredibly well machined. 120 click unidirectional rotating bezel. Again, another feature of the Potuscali I looked at previously was a rock solid bezel action, and that hasn't changed at all. Neither has the lume. The lume on this watch is great. Superluminova, but a pure white and heaps of it. Big indices, big fence post hands with kind of segmentation as well, and a fully lumed bezel insert, and it lasts and lasts and lasts. excellent job. The Sea Storm, I think, had the best application of BGW9 that I've come across, and this one, definitely the best white superluminova that I've come across as well. Good job on the loom, Borealis. And the bracelet's pretty good. 22 down to 20, back up to 22 for the WatchMark Borealis joint effort branded clasp. Screw pins in the links though, they were pretty easy to size earlier on for me. 4 micro adjusts. Now you do need to get your thumbnail under that one, so it's only the single security, but it's a proper milled clasp. Again, pretty much what you'd expect for the price point of 400 US. Zoomed right back into a quite plain but super legible dial. Matte black, just very dark grey if not quite black. Lots of real estate given over to the indices as you saw from the loom shot. That is a definite positive. And a nice handset. Now these ones have a slightly glossy black finish, again I think complementing the DLC coating of the watch itself very nicely. Just 4 lines of text. Borealis, WatchMark get their own little bit of branding there above the 6, Portus Cali, and 30 atmospheres, 300 meters of water resistance, thanks in no small part to that screw down crown down there at the 4 o'clock, and hallelujah, a black date wheel at 3 o'clock. Why don't more brands take the time and the effort to put a black date wheel on their watches? It really does integrate the date very nicely on this dial. And popping a link so you can see that screw down stainless steel caseback, just the mermaid on there advertising automatic, Miyota 9015, 300 meters of water resistance, and Borealis. Watch company Portus Cali. Now, as noted there, Miyota 9015, I'm a big fan of these citizen-made Japanese movements. They're normally quite pretty to look at if you can see them through the caseback, but not so much in this case. 24 jewel hack, hand wind, roughly 40-hour power reserve, and I usually get decent accuracy results out of them as well. And they normally run a little bit fast for me, but I normally get them within about +5, +6 or 7 seconds a day, so I think a good choice. Unidirectional winding though, so you do get a little bit of rotor wobble. You can hear and feel the rotor spinning in this one, but 28,800 vibrations per hour, so you get that very smooth 8 ticks per second sweep of the second hand. I think it's worth it on balance. And there it is on top of my 7-inch wrist, and it looks pretty special, doesn't it? Love that DLC coating mixed with the bronze bezel insert. I have never seen a watch with this particular color combination. Please leave me a comment if you have spotted one out in the wilds yourself. And you know what? You're unlikely to spot one of these WatchMark special editions in the wilds yourself either. Only 50 of these watches are being made. Now, with 7.5 billion people on the planet, that gives you a roughly 1 in 156,600,000 chance of finding somebody else with the same watch as you. And zoomed out a little bit higher, not a particularly bulky watch at all, because it sits nicely on wrist due to that less than 12mm thickness. That bronze is going to look sensational, I think, with time. I'm not one for forcing patina on my watches myself. I think these are best left to nature. And there is this one out and about in nature. As noted, I do like that colour. The bezel at this stage anyway really pops. You know, it's fairly fresh, not a lot of patina, not a lot of corrosion or tarnish on there at the moment. Just enough though to give it an extra little bit of visual interest. And that's the profile of it on my 7-inch wrist. 41.5, I think a pretty decent size for me. However, it should be noted that the end links have quite a protruding mid-link, meaning the effective lug to lug of this watch is a little bit more than the initial dimension of 48 will suggest. It does wear quite flat and a little bit larger than it would do if it had a kind of inverted mid-link. More companies, I think, should have a look at this. Obviously, it involves changes in the engineering of the watch. The spring bar has to be located a little further into the case, possibly modifying the case itself. But I think watches wear a little bit more comfortably on slightly smaller wrists with an inverted mid-link than they do with a protruding one. Just something to be aware of if you're considering picking up one of these and you have smaller wrists than I do. But there's a lot to like about this one, isn't there? DLC coating, interesting some materials, high beat Japanese Miyota automatic, limited edition. And this isn't a limited edition of 3,000, this is a limited edition of 50. That's what I call limited. All yours on the wrist for less than $400. A lot of appeal, I think, in this one. So there you have it, the Borealis WatchMark Special Edition. And it is indeed a little bit special. Special because, apart from anything else, it's a Borealis that you can actually buy. At $399, again, I think this is a really interesting proposition. Love that PVD finish. It looks like a very high quality finish on it as well. And I think the contrast of that aging bezel with the stark black PVD coating is going to be one that is going to evolve and patina with time. I think that'll be a really interesting watch to own long term. $399, I think it's absolutely worth that. Thanks for watching. See you in the next vid.